Let's start off with arguably the maddest thing of the week. I don't think there's anything close. Donald Trump openly declaring that he wants ethnic cleansing in Gaza. His plan for Gaza basically is to tear everything down, rebuild it, and not let Palestinians come back. He made that very clear, standing next to Benjamin Netanyahu, who was very happy to hear it. And now his administration has to defend this open advocacy of ethnic cleansing. So let's hear how National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is spinning Trump's proposal.
You know, everybody's heart breaks for the Palestinian people across the region, and rightly so. But he's not seeing any realistic solutions on how those miles and miles and miles of debris are going to be cleared, how those, essentially unexploded bombs are going to be removed, how these people are physically going to live for the at least a decade, if not longer, it's going to take to do this. So the fact that nobody has a realistic solution, and he puts some very bold, fresh, new ideas out on the table, I don't think should be criticized in any way. I think it's going to bring the entire region to come with their own solutions.
There's so much to say here. First of all, he's right that much of Gaza is unlivable now. In fact, even before the genocide, the UN was warning that unless Israel eased its blockade of Gaza, that within a few years, Gaza would be unlivable. So imagine how things are now after more than a year of carpet bombing, deliberate destruction of Gaza's infrastructure. And so, yes, people are going to have to relocate. I think we should be honest about that. But their solution that basically Palestinians should be permanently expelled, not allowed to come back. When Trump was asked about this, he said, yeah, Gaza should be for the world's people, not for the Palestinian people. He envisions basically this future where it's a bunch of migrant laborers from around the world propping up some very wealthy people who get to live a luxurious life in the beautiful coastal enclave of Gaza. That's what he foresees, not letting Palestinians actually come back. And when he talks about the lack of solutions from the region, there is a solution. It's been on the table for more than 2 decades. It's called the Arab Peace Initiative. The entire Arab League, all the Arab states, who were later joined by Iran, which the Trump administration claims is some implacable foe of Israel, they all offered Israel full normalization if it simply ended the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza and let the Palestinians have a state there. But Israel won't accept that, and neither will the U.S., because that would mean recognizing Palestinian self-determination and giving them a state. And at that point, rather than relocating Palestinians to all these neighboring states, why not let them go to the West Bank? Remove all the illegal Jewish settlers there. Let Palestinians from Gaza live there while you're rebuilding Gaza.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if anyone should be kicked out, it should be the settlers, not the Palestinians who've been there. But that's not what they're interested in doing. I mean, it's interesting because when he says that he has bold, fresh, new ideas, in some ways, what's bold and fresh is that he's saying this stuff out loud and he's doing it so explicitly. I mean, a lot of libs, by the way, are like, oh, they're such monsters. They're basically, I don't know if you saw this, Aaron, but a lot of people online, their response to this was to mock people, to vote shame and mock people and talk about Dearborn voters and basically imply that this is all the fault of people who either voted third party or couldn't bring themselves to vote for Kamala Harris. Now, what's interesting is that none of these people really cared about Palestine before now. When Joe Biden was overseeing what I think of as a genocide, they were silent on it. But you know what else is interesting? Like, I feel like even if you thought that, and even if you were like, God, I'm really frustrated that these people didn't turn out for Harris, who was way better than Trump, whatever, for argument's sake, like, the gall of tweeting that, that's something you would maybe like text a friend, but the gall to respond to news about ethnic cleansing with a gotcha and an own, and like, I'm not even sorry, like, good, you guys deserve it. It's just so inhumane.
They're like, how's your uncommitted vote going now?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Can't you like pretend to care about something besides dunking on people when we're talking about devastation, ethnic cleansing, and genocide? It's also like, what Trump's doing is not good. It's brutal. It's totally illegal. It's unforgivable. But so is what Biden was doing.
Well, here's the thing. Compare what they're doing. Biden was supplying bombs to Israel and blocking a ceasefire while Israel was carrying out mass murder. Right. For now, that genocide campaign in Gaza has ceased for now. So whatever Trump has done so far does not compare to what Biden did, which was enabling a genocide as it was going on. And also, Trump talking about taking over Gaza, the U.S. is going to run Gaza. He's not going to send troops to Gaza.
Right.
There's absolutely no way. It's just
Even though he's
typical Trump
flirting, he
bluster.
won't take that off the table.
Yeah, it's just bluster. But what he's
Yeah.
saying, though, really, since he's not actually going to send U.S. troops, what he's saying is the only solution is for Palestinians to leave.
Right.
That's what he's saying. And he's not going to send U.S. troops to enforce that. In fact, once Arab states and the people of Gaza reject U.S. intervention, he's going to say, "Well, they rejected my bold, fresh proposal,
Right.
so forget it. It's their problem." And so
Right.
he's going to leave Palestinians to suffer in misery and continue the blockade that Israel has imposed for decades now and prevent Gazans from rebuilding. And that's what he's saying. He's not actually saying he's going to send U.S. troops to Gaza and take it over, or at least he's not actually going to do that. But he's just saying that basically that there is no solution. And yeah, people using this like Democratic Party hacks to, again, they offered Palestinians nothing to earn their vote.
Right.
They defended the genocide. They lied about seeking a ceasefire. AOC going up on stage saying Kamala Harris is tirelessly working for a ceasefire. No, she wasn't. That was a lie. They sent Bill Clinton to Michigan to say that, like, sorry, Palestinians, the Jews had this land in their Bible 2,000 years ago, so no dice. So
they sent Richie Torres.
Yeah, they sent Richie Torres too. So there's no "I told you so" from Democrats because they were doing it. They were setting up exactly what Trump is now taking advantage of to say Palestinians can't come back to the land that Biden helped destroy.
Exactly. Yeah. And also the other thing that's so hypocritical is all these people like Simone Sanders. I think both of us responded to that. She tweeted out, this is a good time to reiterate that elections have consequences. Like, okay, so let's say that's true. Elections do have consequences. Then how on earth can you defend the fact that Kamala Harris saw the polling showing that the base wanted her to run on a ceasefire and decided not to? Like, she put norms ahead of defeating fascism. I thought Trump is a fascist. And in theory, if you think Trump is a fascist, wouldn't you do the thing that you knew was going to get out the base?
Yeah, and if we're going in order here, before the election had a consequence, the genocide had a consequence on the election. Genocide had a consequence on the election. And that's because as you say, the campaign did nothing to distance itself from the genocide. Kamala Harris was in lockstep with Joe Biden. So yeah, if elections have consequences, then so do genocides. And in this case, the genocide cost Democrats the election.
So you can't play it both ways. You can't pretend to be like a realist and not an ideologue and not a purist and someone who really cares about defeating fascism and you'll do whatever it takes and you're a pragmatist. You can't do that and also not have said anything about Kamala Harris ignoring strategic advice.
100%. Well, meanwhile, how is the Trump team continuing to spin this? Well, they've gotten their talking points. And here is a glimpse from several top White House officials.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
The definition of insanity is attempting to do the same thing over and over and over again. And as the president and prime minister pointed out last night,
as our defense secretary said famously today, Pete Hegseth, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again.
President Trump is an outside-of-the-box thinker and a visionary leader who solves problems that many others, especially in this city, claim are unsolvable.
The president is willing to think outside the box.
We might as well look at one of the world's longest problems and bring in a leader who thinks outside the box, who's crazy may just be crazy genius.
That's it.
Well, here's the thing, though. He's not thinking outside the box. This has been the Zionist plan for a century now. Jabotinsky, the early Zionist leader, a friend of my great-grandfather's, said that Zionism is a colonizing adventure, and we're going to have to expel the Arabs who won't let us live there because they see us rightfully taking over their land. And that's been the goal forever. So Trump is not thinking outside the box. He's just articulating what no one else will admit publicly. This is what Biden wanted too. Blinken, in the early weeks of the genocide, went to Egypt and Jordan, tried to convince them to take Palestinian refugees. So if they want to claim that Trump is thinking outside the box, he's actually just parroting Antony Blinken, who they claim to be such a radical departure from.
Right.
So this isn't radical thinking at all. This is just thinking out loud of what the Zionist agenda has always been.
It's radical delivery. It's radical like speech making, but the actual policy isn't radical. A radical departure, I should say. And this idea that he's thinking outside the box, I mean, this is just like copy and paste like settler colonialism, right? So you you conquer someone's land, you abuse them, you massacre them, you surveil them, you kick them out. You have then insurgencies that you constantly have to put down as a result of illegally occupying people's lands and displacing the indigenous people, and then you just repeat it.
But this again also is where I really fault uh, everybody in Washington. As I said earlier, for more than 20 years, there's been an offer on the table. Arab League endorsed it. Iran endorsed it. Hezbollah, the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, he told Seymour Hersh recently reported this, that Hezbollah would not stand in the way of a two-state solution. This Arab League peace offer of full normalization with Israel if it simply withdrew from the occupied territories and let a Palestinian state be created there, and also had a just resolution to the refugee issue, which means that not every refugee who's now in Gaza, the West Bank, around the world gets to return to their homes in what is now Israel, but there's a just resolution. So if you won't let them come back, at least offer them an apology and compensation. That's what many Palestinians would accept at this point. A lot of people don't, many people cling to the hope that they will return home one day, and that's their right. But many people also recognize that practically, at least within their lifetime or their children's lifetimes, that might not be possible. So they might accept, if Israel ever offered it, compensation and an apology. And that's what the Arab League also offered Israel more than 2 decades ago, a just resolution to the refugee issue and a Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza. It's Israel and the U.S. alone that have opposed that. The rest of the world supports it. Barack Obama could have seized that opportunity. He didn't. George W. Bush rejected it. So did Biden. So all of them have set themselves up for this moment where Trump out loud calls for ethnic cleansing.
Also, it's interesting because Saudi Arabia tweeted, like in the middle of the night their time, or like 4 a.m. their time, basically like that they won't accept this.
Yeah, they have to because
and Trump, of course, this is his baby, right? The Abraham Accords.
Yeah, he really wants to bring Saudi Arabia into this normalization deal, which is predicated on sidelining Palestinians and normalizing with the Arab countries surrounding Israel. But Saudi Arabia is saying, because they recognize that this was a huge threat to them if they don't say this, that they're not going to normalize with Israel without a Palestinian state.
Right. And it is, again, one of the people have made this point before that Trump really is in some ways just the perfect face for empire. Like he is masks off. He says things out loud, and you could imagine that had like Harris done something like this, but more subtle, a subtler version of it, you could imagine Saudi Arabia having agreed to it.